Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Shoo, boy. Welcome, folks. Happy Friday. What a week it has been. It's a week that feels like 2 weeks compressed into one because there's been so much stuff. It's been an emotional roller coaster, up and down, everything all across the board. Thank you for joining me here today. I hope today's episode will give me some release as well as you. I think we're trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and we're going to figure it out together. All right, we're going to be fine. First, let me just welcome Zelda to the top of the order there. I see a Zelda, followed by Meredith Powell. Michelle Gilbert is here. Valerie G. The Trump Reaper. Simon Metcalf from across the pond. Queen of the South is here. Bernadette H. Jenny Rayner. And see, when I see your names there, like Chris Passeri, I can shout you out. If you don't say anything, I can't shout you out. Stella Baxter. Hey, Stella Baxter, long time no see. Annie is here. Punxsutawney Mo. And Cindy C, of course. Now, I do also want to pop this here on the screen here. Zelda, comment from Zelda earlier on. She says, I'm okay. I think I'm just stressed because everyone's saying Biden stepped down, and I really don't appreciate that right now. I'm so mad about that, so I'm not the easiest person to deal with today. Zelda, that was me. That was me this entire week. I've had back-to-back discussions with people in real life and via text and by Zoom call, and yeah, man. So we're gonna figure this out because it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. All this bullshit. So let's do a quick rundown of what I like to call stories of the day.
Stories of the day.
Stories of the day. And you see here, the cover image for today's episode is Biden under attack from Democrats? Yeah, it's bizarre. It's insane. It makes no sense at all. And we don't see how he can win. Well, yeah, no, not with your foot on his neck. No. God damn it. And on top of that, the man has COVID, but we have some good news on that front. More on that in a bit. And yeah, okay. There apparently the party leaders are, sending their feelers out. And here's my problem, okay? Because I'm hearing one thing on one side, I'm hearing another thing on another side. If you did or did not say something, but the press is reporting that you did, if you don't come out immediately, because it's not like these folks don't have access to the press. It's not like they can't call a press conference immediately and set the record straight. Okay, so don't tell me, of course, if you didn't hear it from us, no, we're hearing it from the media. They're putting words in your mouth, and if you're not repudiating it strongly, then you're saying it. It's that simple. God damn it. So mad. I'm so mad. And last night was the longest RNC acceptance speech in history. Fun fact. And also probably the most boring and unhinged. Delivered, of course, by a convicted felon. First time in history. So go figure. If this is your first time here to the show, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode of Storytime with BDD. And also make sure you hit that like button. It's not quite as attractive as my own thumb up, but it is something. It is a thing. My thumb is a thing. All right, so let's move forward. Okay, it's time. It's time for it's cute kitten time. Sonny is doing well. He is well integrated into the BDD family. He has made friends with his older sisters, Mars, as well as Kobe. Even though he is a pain in the ass, I can confirm that. And at any point of the day, you can hear the sound wow, like several times throughout the day. And you know, wifey and I are trying to balance out like when we intervene. Sometimes it feels like it's just too intense and we got to put a hand in there and pick him up and say no, no, no. Sometimes we don't know if he's bullying them. We're sure they're not bullying him. They've been treating him with kid gloves. But he's also made friends with his canine sister, the Woofy, Rain. And I have a little clip here for you guys to share with you guys here.
No. You're dead. Just like Julia.
My job is to ensure the stability of UBA.
This network needs to clean up its act.
It's so great. Yeah, so the gang is all together, and you'll love to see it. Okay, and let's see. So this week I didn't have. I hope you guys did catch this week's episode of The Defiant podcast, starring myself and the Hessinator, my co-host with the co-most Kenny Hess. If you haven't, it's a really good episode. We didn't have a guest, but this coming week we do have a guest, and I have confirmed it as of today. Our guest will be none other than Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. I'm very excited. I cannot even tell you. Can't begin to tell you how excited I am. Let's see. Mama AG says on X, President Biden just released a statement. That statement better be calm your asses down. I'm in this race to win it. Yeah, that was a message from Mama AG. And thank you for that update. We also have Otto von Wienis. It's great. Otto von Wienis. Let me just tell you guys, I do appreciate it when you come up with these like really funny names that make me laugh as I read them. And hello, Sherry Scary. I see you there, my friend. Otto von Wiener says, please tell your friends not to give up on Biden. I feel that is an important message, and thank you for sharing that, my friend. So yeah, looking forward to interviewing her. We'll be conducting the interview next week, and it's great. It's great. Okay, so let me briefly cover some of the shows that wifey and I will be watching, or at least I know I will definitely be watching. Some of them, wifey will not be joining me for them. Those About to Die is a new show on Peacock, and it looks like it takes place during the Roman, Colosseum times when entertainment was deadly. And the corruption was high, and the backstabbing was similar to what's going on right now, except it was like real backstabbing. It's starring Anthony Hopkins, who famously played the late great Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, Anthony Hopkins is in this, and if you're fans of the show, um, if you're fans of the show Game of Thrones, the guy who played, I want to say his name was Ramsay Bolton. It was like a real sadistic son of a bitch who I hated his guts. Anyway, Ramsay is in. Oh, he's right there in front of. Let me see if I can blow this up. Standing right there in front of Anthony Hopkins. So it looks to be a very entertaining show, to say the least. There's going to be, some chariot races. There's going to be some scantily clad men, trying to kill each other, and political subterfuge and all that. So I'm looking forward to this. That was Ramsay Bolton. Thank you, Marie. Marie from New Jersey. Lucas Sander, what up? I see you, my friend. Welcome. Next up, there's a movie. It's a horror movie, so it's probable that Wifey will not be joining me for this. It's called Abigail, and it's about a cute little girl in a ballerina dress who happens to be a vampire. Yeah, and I believe the guy who played Gus Fring, Giancarlo Esposito, is in this as well, along with like an assorted cast. That guy carrying her unconscious body kind of looks like Elon Musk, but it's not. It's a well-known actor whose name escapes me right now. Hello, Watcher Soko. I see you there, my friend. And last but not least, Twisters. Twisters is the cinematic sequel to the first Twister movie starring Helen Hunt and what's my man's name? He was in Aliens. And I think he passed away. Bill Paxton, I think his name is. Yeah, Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt were in the first one, and this one is starring a guy named Glenn Powell, who is quickly shooting to the top of everybody's list of actors to book for their movie. And I love a good disaster movie, but especially the ones about tornadoes. I don't know what it is. They're terrifying, but beautiful, if you can imagine, beautiful at the same time. It's a funnel. It's a funnel, a deadly funnel of air. And fun fact, when I was a kid, I used to want to, no joke, true story. I used to want to be pulled into an actual tornado. That was after having seen Wizard of Oz, and I thought it looked fun to me. When the Wicked Witch of the West was riding her bicycle through the tornado, I was like, oh, that looks like fun. I want to do that. And many years later, I would learn that not only would it not be fun, it would be extremely deadly, as planks of wood or even little things of straw can just like puncture you because they're flying at 200 miles an hour. So I guess I won't be doing that anytime soon. Let me go ahead and jump forward to actual news this week. We learned that Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey was convicted of all 16 counts of corruption, and that corruption includes fraud, and it includes obstruction and all these other, corruption charges. If you're unfamiliar with this case, it involves gold bars. It involves halal food, which which is just hilarious. I love me some halal food, just so you know. The best places to get halal are the carts that you will see anywhere in the five boroughs, but the best places to get it, I would say, are in East New York, in Brooklyn, right off of Euclid Avenue. There's a really good cart. Make sure you get it. get the chicken and rice with the white sauce and the red sauce, but not too much red sauce because that shit is like nuclear. It's super duper hot, delicious. Um, but yeah, he was found guilty, and unlike the Republican Party, you don't see any Democrats out there right now saying, "Oh, it was rigged, and it was rigged against Bob." No, like most of the Senate, most of the Democratic members of the Senate have lined up and said, buddy, you need to resign pronto. And if he doesn't resign, they are going to expel him. And that's interesting. It's very interesting because Bob Menendez represents part of the Democratic majority in the Senate, right? It's a slim majority. It's not like we have like a big major cushion. It's like we expel him and then we're down one, and now is it a tie? Or I don't even know. I don't know the math. If anybody knows the math on what happens if and when Bob Menendez is expelled, do we lose the majority? Is it a tie? What's the deal? Because I think um, I think Vice President Kamala Harris's vote in the Senate is like the tiebreaker. I think, not 100% sure. In other legal news, Eileen Cannon continues to disgrace herself and disgrace the bench. And she called for the classified documents case to be dismissed. And it's just like, it's frustrating. It's infuriating because you know that this is not how the legal system should operate. You know, that just because a guy, appointed you, just because he represents your your political philosophy, it doesn't mean that, you bend over backwards to do everything he wants you to do. And it's disgraceful. So, shortly thereafter, we learned that special counsel Jack Smith has submitted or is submitting an appeal to overturn the ruling and keep that case in play, because that'd be terrible. This is one of those few cases, like, should have been a slam dunk. If justice were equal to the rich and the poor, the black and the white, Donald Trump would have already been convicted and in jail, because this thing has been extended beyond belief. And Eileen Cannon has made ridiculous rulings that, allowed him to delay and stay out of jail. I mean, they have the goods on this guy with all the evidence. It's overwhelming mountain of evidence. So hopefully they get this thing squared away. But the bad news is that it won't be squared away prior to the 2024 election, unfortunately. Meanwhile, we are seeing more and more of Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, I'm not going to cynically say that it's due to the fact that there are all these whispers that are not so much whispers anymore as they are like just straight up shouts, about about the possibility that President Biden may step aside for her. But I think I just did. I think I did just say that. Yeah, that's probably why we're getting an extended look at Vice President Kamala Harris now, because frankly, she has been buried. Midas Touch is in the chat. What? Let me find out. Where are the Midas guys? And which one is it? Is it Ben? Is it Brett? Is it my buddy Jordy? Who is here with us? I can't see Midas Touch in the chat. Wait, how do you know Midas is in the chat? I'm scanning. I don't see it. But welcome, Midas Touch. Glad to have you here. But yeah, so Vice President Harris is an important figure, despite the fact that she has been pushed to the background. And that's unfortunate because really she does have a strong voice. She's dynamic. And if you put her in a good position to excel and succeed, that is precisely what she will do. Now, here we are it's a member of Midas Touch. Okay. The Midas Mighties are here. Welcome, Midas Mighties. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. But yeah, anyway, so she is now almost front and center because it looks like the party heavies are trying to align and push President Biden to reverse his decision. He's already decided. People keep saying like, it's his decision. Well, motherfucker, he made that decision already. Did I stutter? I wish I could play Stanley from The Office's quote where he says, "Did I stutter?" When he's yelling at Michael Scott. But yeah, he didn't stutter. He said he's running. God damn it. But anyway, with that said, Vice President Harris made a really strong speech the other day, and I wants to share it with you. So that is what I'm going to do.
I have heard Donald Trump's running mate deliver remarks at the Republican National Convention. He talked about his life story about growing up in Southwest Ohio, and it was compelling. It's a compelling story. And it was not the full story. Frankly, what is very telling is what he did not talk about on that stage. He did not talk about Project 2025, their 900-page blueprint for a second Trump term. He did not talk about it because their plans are extreme and they are divisive. In recent days, they've been trying to portray themselves as a party of unity. But here's the thing. If you claim to stand for unity, you need to do more than just use the word.
Amen.
You cannot claim you stand for unity if you are pushing an agenda that deprives whole groups of Americans of basic freedoms, opportunity, and dignity.
That part.
You cannot claim you stand for unity if you are intent on taking reproductive freedoms from the people of America and the women of America.
That part right there.
Trying to ban abortion nationwide as they do and restrict access to IVF and contraception as their plan calls for. You cannot claim to be for unity if you try to overturn a free and fair election and threaten to terminate the United States Constitution.
Amen. That is a strong speech from our vice president. And audio up. Did you guys not hear that? Oh my goodness, Zelda, my friend. Zelda, thank you so kindly. Holy shit. Thank you. I very much appreciate that, my friend. Thank you for your steady and strong support of the show. We greatly appreciate you. Thank you. Whew, boy. Wow. So yeah, Vice President Kamala Harris has what it takes to win, to not only just win the election, but to continue with President Biden's agenda. They've been in lockstep together from Jump Street. She has literally followed in President Biden's footsteps. He used to say that he was the first person in the room and the last one to leave. That's exactly what she's been doing. She's been studying, despite the fact that nobody's actually gotten a look to see what she's doing. She's ready. She's ready to lead, and but that's not what we should be talking about right now. Right now, first of all, President Biden has COVID. Now, fortunately for the president, he was vaccinated, and he also has access to the best medical care in the country. So, as of earlier today, he did issue a statement saying that he is feeling much better and his recovery is continuing. He should be fine. He said he's looking forward. Excuse me. He said he's looking forward to getting back on the campaign trail next week, much to the chagrin of the talking heads and the members of the Democratic Party who are looking to sideline him, to take him out of the game, to send him to the bench. Yeah, we have some members of Congress who, I don't know, for one reason or another, they've gotten cold feet. They're scared. They're nervous. Why are they nervous? What access do they have to, like, what polls do they have access to that are like these magically correct polls? Because last time I checked, for the past, I don't know, for the past 8 to 12 years, these polls that everybody is relying on, from politicians to media heads, they're notoriously inaccurate. We were supposed to see a red wave 2 years ago. That red wave never materialized. Man, you know, if any of us were as wrong on our jobs as these pollsters are, we would lose our jobs. We would. It's like pollsters and meteorologists, like people who tell the weather, are like, those are the those are the only jobs where you can be as consistently wrong and still keep your job. you know um going back to 2016. 2016, they had Hillary Clinton ahead in the polls the entire time, and often by double digits. She was ahead. So that's why it was such a shocker when she lost to Donald Trump. And I know some people are going to some people are going to refute that. Oh, she didn't lose, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, she did not occupy the White House. If we're going to hold the other side to that standard, to say, hey, who won the last election and who won the 2020 election? And, the Republicans are like, well, Joe Biden is the president. We didn't ask you that. We asked you, did he win fair and square? And their answer is, Joe Biden is the president. That's their cutesy way of saying, if I must answer, yeah, okay, he's in the White House. So yeah, so at the end of the day, Trump was in the White House. But getting back to who's asking President Biden to step aside, right? At the beginning, for the first week or so, week and a half, we were seeing a lot of, I hate to call these guys no-name congressmen, because obviously if they represent you in your district, they're not no name. You know them. You probably know them very well. You might have voted for them several times or whatever. Whatever the case may be, you know them, right? Like if I look in here, there's some that I recognize, like Pat Ryan up there in the middle. Um, he just won his seat not too long ago in a highly contested upstate New York election, so he's fairly well known. Rep Mike Quigley in the top row there. Seth, excuse me, Seth Moulton, very well known. Let's see, I feel like Scott Peters. I think I know him. Rep Mickey Sherrill, I know her. So some of these are actually fairly well known, but when I say no name, I'm talking about they're not like, they're not marquee names, right? Marquee names such as Adam Schiff. When I heard earlier this week that Adam Schiff called for President Biden to step aside, that fucking pissed me off. I mean, I was already getting irritated about, like I said, some of the lesser known representatives stepping up and saying, making that noise. But Adam Schiff is not an unknown, he is a nationally known figure vying for a Senate seat. He very well may win his Senate seat because he's running in California. It's a blue state. But it really, really, really made me mad because for a number of reasons, right? Many people, oh God, I hate that. I hate that he's messed this. But many people are saying that if Adam Schiff says something in public, it's only because Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi has approved it. So, if one person were to say that, that's one thing. But like everybody really says that, like if Nancy Pelosi goes like this, Adam Schiff is talking, which means that she approved it. Now, she hasn't really come out and said much. And frankly, I believe this process is too public. It's too public. We don't need to know how the sausage is made. All right. I think Democrats have handled this poorly. And by Democrats, I don't mean the rank and file. I don't mean us. I mean the leadership. I'm calling you guys out. You guys messed this up badly. This is handled extremely poorly. Did you see how the Republican Party handled Donald Trump's assassination attempt this past weekend? They put a fucking tight lid on everything. They said, no leaks. Nobody will say shit about anything. Now, with that said, yeah, I would like to see a medical report. I want to see a picture of his ear behind that bandage, that outrageously large bandage on his ear. I'd like to see all that stuff, but I can't because they've closed ranks around him. They have discipline. At one point, we were kind of laughing and giggling about the Republicans being in disarray, but now that's us. Now we are Democrats in disarray, which is where we usually are. The people in in leadership positions, this is on you, right? What you have done right now is you have damaged our front runner. You have damaged our president. Hopefully not irrevocably, but you've damaged him, not to an insignificant degree. You've questioned his ability not only to win this race, but to continue to lead into 2028. You've publicly registered your vote of no confidence in him. Not just the rank and not just the lower tier members of the party, but you party leaders. Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. And it's going to take me a while to get over this shit, you know, because look, we all saw that debate performance by President Biden. Yeah, and we were all shaken by it. We were all taken aback. But everybody loves a good comeback, right? Everybody loves it when somebody stumbles and gets back up and dusts himself off and thrives and succeeds. And that's what we saw. You know, people were saying, the talking heads were like, what does President Biden have to do to get back in this race? Assuming from your faulty polls that he's somehow out of it, even though he didn't fall. He didn't suffer in the polls at all. He might have lost a point here or there. But in most places, it's a virtual tie. When I say virtual tie, you know, we're talking about the margin of error being 3 points. He's in there. So what data are you guys leaning on that gives you the right to publicly question this man's decision making? First of all, because he said, I've decided. He said this, you know, without hesitation, without stuttering. He's had a whole lifetime of stuttering. He didn't stutter here. He said, I am running. I am in this to win. I beat him before and I will beat him again. He didn't stutter. So what information do you have that is showing otherwise? You like nervous because of the donors? Right? These Democratic donors, high ticket, I guess, you know, the ones who are giving millions of dollars, they've closed their purses now and there's, you know, they're not giving. According to this tweet from Call to Activism, former President Bill Clinton and his wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, are asking donors privately not to abandon and stick with President Biden. Now, last time I checked, Hillary Clinton, she's not a no-name. She's not a, you know, a no-frills candidate. She's, you know, she's pretty well known. People know her. And as of recently, people say, you know, should have listened to Hillary Clinton. She was right about everything. So she was right about everything. Keep that energy going. She's right about this too. You know? And here's something interesting, right? The thing that I don't like about this, I don't know what to call this, if it's a coup or if it's a mutiny. I don't like how it feels. It feels like a coup or a mutiny. And it's slow moving. It feels like they're angling towards just leapfrogging over Vice President Kamala Harris. This is what I mistrust about this fucking shadow process. It's a shadow process because we, the voters, the Democratic voters, cast our votes enthusiastically for President Biden in the primaries. There were lots of places that, you know, we didn't need to turn up in the massive numbers that we did, places where he wasn't even on the ballot. And he won overwhelmingly. That means people got up off their asses, went down to the polling place, stood in line, and cast their votes. That means that there are people in the Democratic Party who believe in President Biden strongly. They partook in the political process, this democracy that we all like to, you know, talk about and woo-hoo. So now party leaders are going to be, you know, swayed by these donors. That's what's moving the needle here? It's not the voters, it's the people with the deep pockets. That's fucking bullshit. For the record, if President Biden were to decide that he would rather the party unite behind one candidate, and that one candidate being Kamala Harris, rather than see it torn asunder by a bunch of fucking cowards. If he were to say, look, I'll step aside for my vice president, I would be 100%, 1,000,000% behind Kamala Harris and would, enthusiastically and passionately support her all the way through election day and night. Every ounce of my energy dedicated to getting her elected. But it doesn't feel like that's where this is headed. It feels like I was watching Zoe Lofgren earlier today, Representative Zoe Lofgren, who was saying, oh, well, yeah, maybe President Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, and maybe we'll, have like a mock, a mock primary, and we'll introduce some other candidates, and then people will have an opportunity to vote for some other candidates. Why? We didn't vote for some other candidates. Where's this bullshit coming from? And I suddenly see that nobody has a fucking clue about anything. Nobody has scientific data saying that Kamala Harris will not perform as well as some other candidates. In fact, if we're sticking with these faulty poll results, the majority of the faulty poll results say that Kamala Harris does better than anyone else aside from President Biden. She does better than Gretchen Whitmer. She does better than Gavin Newsom. She does better than Pete Buttigieg. So miss me with that, let's see some other candidates bullshit. All right? That's for the record. Also for the record, I believe that President Biden was possibly the most uniquely well-positioned candidate to take on Donald Trump because he's an old white guy. Don't get me wrong, right? President Biden is awesome. He is awesome. I love President Biden. I don't say that about a lot of politicians, but I do love President Biden. I love that he is a regular guy, that he says what's on his mind, often with, to his own detriment. He keeps it real, He's as close to a blue collar guy as you're going to get. And people on both sides of the aisle won't admit it, but they do like him. Even the Republicans do like him as a person, as a human being. But look, Donald Trump ran against, in 2016, Donald Trump ran against perhaps the most qualified candidate either party has ever seen in the history of America, in Hillary Clinton. She's Ivy School educated. She's a lawyer. She's a former first lady. She's a former senator, United States senator. She's a former secretary of state. She's highly intelligent and has policy up the wazoo. She couldn't beat Donald Trump. She did beat him in the popular vote. She didn't get enough electoral votes. Why? Misogyny. This country is fucked up still. We made some progress with President Obama. It was a miracle. I'll tell you honestly, it was a miracle, I thought, that President Obama won the first time. I remember when he was first running in 2008, I was actually not originally behind him. I was behind Hillary Clinton. Why? Because I was like, That brother's name is Barack Obama. He's got an African first and last name. What's his middle name? Hussein. Was his middle name. I was like, there's no way. There's no way this brother can win. Now, once he beat Hillary in the primaries, I was like, all right, let me put my full force of everything behind helping him get elected. And boom, voila. America, you surprised me back then. You did surprise me, pleasantly surprised that you did pull the lever for President Barack Hussein Obama. I was stunned. But also his election brought out, the racists, it brought out the racists in the country who you turn that rock over and you see them all crawl out, we got to take our country back. We're going to take it back. Take it back. Take it back from who? Well, it's not like, Vladimir Putin walked in here and tried to, overthrow the government. That was an American guy who's just won the election. Oh no, he's not American. He was born somewhere else. Such bullshit. So yeah, so I say all that to say, I do honestly believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is great, but I still think, because America is racist and because America is misogynist, I think President Biden is still the guy to beat back Donald Trump. I will put everything into getting Kamala Harris elected if President Biden decides to step aside and Kamala Harris is anointed or selected or whatever, if she is our nominee. If she is not, I will be livid. I can't even tell you what I will do. Right now, I can't tell you how I will react if she is not the person behind President Biden. I can't tell you. I'm being honest. I will be livid beyond words. So we'll see. At the end of the day, this is President Biden's race until he says otherwise. And Democratic Party going forward, we got to fix this. We got to fix this. It's one thing to have a healthy, robust debate. I get that. This is democracy, and we all have voices and we all have an opinion. But you know how this shit works, right? If you wanted to have this discussion, it should have been a year ago, not 4 months away from the fucking general election. This is bullshit. Do not air out your dirty laundry for Republicans to take and do what they will with it. You're saving Republicans so much money on attack ads just by attacking our own president. Shame on you. Shame. So last Saturday, this thing happened. There was a 20-year-old Republican, registered Republican shooter who was somehow allowed to climb onto an unguarded roof mere 148 yards away from where Donald Trump was speaking at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Unreal. So, excuse me, it was Saturday, so I was completely unplugged from politics, and wifey and I were rewatching episodes of The Office, which is it's a hilarious show. And so I didn't find out about this until an hour after it had happened, and the news stations were running this video on a loop of Donald Trump, grabbing at his ear, and then you hear a pucka, 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 right? Very low, sounded like maybe somebody banging on a piece of wood. That's what it sounded like to me. But he grabbed his ear, and then he went down. And then a few seconds later, you see the Secret Service converge on him. And according to his performance last night, I was watching you. I saw nobody moved. And that was a weird thing, too. It was very weird. The whole way this thing unfolded was bizarre as hell. After a minute or so of being down, he got up, and you can audibly hear, and I don't have to play this because I'm sure you guys, I don't need to play the video because you guys, as I'm sure, saw it at least 100 times because they just kept playing it on a loop, 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 loop. He says, you can hear Donald Trump say, oh, wait, my shoes. Like, what? Your shoes just came off and you're concerned about your shoes? Fuck your shoes. Fuck the shoes. Get the hell out of there. I'm not saying this as a Democrat. I'm saying this as a rational human being who just saw, and heard gunshots ring off. And I know from having seen the assassination of President John F. Kennedy that if there is a shooter, or not even that, the assassination attempt of Ronald Reagan, if there's a shooter in the vicinity, you keep that guy's head down and out of sight and into the car as quickly as possible. That did not happen. They allowed him to stand up, show his fucking face, and throw up a fist. Fight. If there was another shooter in the vicinity, he would have been dead. He would have been dead because he was fully exposed. Even as he's walking away, you can see the back of his head the whole time. Insane. Incredible failure. I'm pissed off at this Secret Service because clearly something is amiss. Something is amiss with this Secret Service. This is the same Secret Service that flushed all of the data from January 6th. This Secret Service is rotten in the state of Denmark. Something's rotten. There's no way anybody should have gotten on that roof. Now, after the fact, Secret Service people are saying that, well, that part was delegated to local law enforcement. That doesn't absolve you of ensuring that area is secured, right? How hard is it to talk to local law enforcement? Somebody on the Secret Service got to coordinate with local law enforcement and say, hey, you got that building locked down? Because we don't. But do you? Complete and utter failure. So now let's fast forward to the RNC because this happened. This assassination attempt happened mere days before the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. Now, I don't have to tell you guys, you already know that despite the fact that I am I'm a closet conspiracy theorist, right? I did a pretty good job of keeping that part of my brain in check. I keep it under lock. It's on a lockdown. I don't let, my conspiracy shit go haywire, but everything was just going bonkers on this. I've seen a lot of people say that this thing was staged. I'm not saying that it was staged. I'm saying that, there were major failures that allowed that to happen. And I don't want that to happen to President Biden or Vice President Harris or anybody. I would rather see Donald Trump defeated by the ballot, not by the bullet. Straight up. That has been my position for the longest, and it remains my position. Because if he's defeated by bullet, then he wasn't really defeated. Then he becomes a larger than life figure. He becomes a martyr. And nobody wants that. he's already a victim as it is. He's a daily victim. This is the most victimized, the most victim alpha male I've ever seen in my life. How is it that you are supposedly this alpha dog, but also you're a victim? That makes no sense. So the RNC kicked off, and they had a motley crew of speakers. They had Amber, I think Rose is the lady who used to date uh, Kanye West, and apparently she denies that she is of African American heritage. That's neither here nor there. I could care less. Um, JD Vance was nominated as uh, the vice president. That was Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. A lot of people say that he is to the right or even far right of Donald Trump, which is saying something because Donald Trump is very far right already. I don't know how much further right you can get, but apparently, he has some stances about abortion and about immigration and pretty much everything is apparently further to the right uh, of Donald Trump. And frankly, I would love to see uh, Vice President Kamala Harris dismantle JD Vance. By the way, I totally forgot to mention in this whole discussion of Vice President Kamala Harris potentially taking over the top of the ticket, there have been names that have been thrown around, bandied about um, as her potential running mate. So her potential vice presidential pick. At the top, I believe, is Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. Got his name right? Andy Beshear. I think it's also the North Carolina's governor. I forgive me if I get this wrong. I think it's Roy Cooper. And there's another guy who is a senator. Oh, Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona. So those were the top names that were mentioned in regards to if Kamala Harris becomes our presidential nominee. So that would be interesting. Now you want to kind of think about who is best positioned to take on JD Vance in a vice presidential debate. Excuse me. And Rudy Giuliani showed up and had a fight with folding chairs, and he lost that fight. What the hell happened to Matt Gaetz? Matt Gaetz. Man, never go full Matt Gaetz, man. He had, I guess, Matt Gaetz had a fight with the Botox and he lost, or his eyebrows lost. Otto von Wienis wants to know, what do I think about the Teamsters speaking at the RNC? I think that's a classic case of voting against your own interests. Yeah, he said that they don't belong to any party or whatever, but come on. Republicans are notoriously anti-union. So that's a disgrace. President Biden is the most pro-union president in history, period. So you played yourself, dude. You played absolutely. Thank you for the question, Otto von Renes. Yeah, the Teamster guy speaking at the RNC was just absolute disgrace. So thank you for that. Oh, look at this. Marie from New Jersey says Shapiro from PA. I saw this brother speak live. I was like one of the few rallies I've been to in Philly. I went down to Philadelphia. President Obama was speaking there. President Biden spoke. John Fetterman spoke there, and Josh Shapiro spoke. Strong guy. I think I'd like to see him finish a full term as governor before entering the fray, but I like him on our bench. Dude, definitely do. So yeah, so all of these the motley crew speakers at the RNC, boring as hell, and so boring that Donald Trump once again could not manage to keep his eyes open. It was just very very sleepy, boring. And frankly, he couldn't stay awake at his own criminal trial. So maybe it's not so much that it was boring for him, it's just that he's low energy, can't stay awake. But then the Hulk showed up. Hulk Hogan. I think I do need to share with you. Hulk Hogan was caught on audio saying some very nasty things, and yeah, that I will share with you, because the fact that Republicans thought it was okay, the fact that Donald Trump thought it was okay to have this guy speak on his behalf at his Republican National Convention should tell you everything you need to know about Donald Trump. Donald Trump himself did not uncork the N-word. Didn't have to. If you surround yourself with people like this, then you're showing us who you are by who you associate with.
So it gets to the point where I wrote a book was fucking the black man's son. Would have been hanging out. I caught them holding hands together on the toilet, get close. I knew why I give a fuck. Okay, I'm not a double standard type guy. I'm a racist to a point. Yeah. There's then when it comes to nice people, we all are that way. Yeah, like when it comes to nice people, you can't say. I don't give a fuck. She's nervous. I don't care. I'm a football player, a basketball player, that. If we're gonna talk to senators, we'll see the rich. I'm sure. The kid is a multi-billionaire, right? So it gets to the point where
he says he's racist to a point. If we're gonna fuck with N-words, then let's get us a rich one. Interesting, right? That's who Donald Trump chooses to invite to his big event. And there was a Melania sighting. She finally, I guess that might have been a stipulation in her contract with Donald Trump. You must make at least one appearance for no less than 90 minutes at my RNC, should I not be in prison yet. So yeah, she showed up. She was kind of forced to. And then Donald Trump took the stage for what, as I said, was a 92-minute longest nomination acceptance speech in history. And he started off very low energy, very soft spoken. I'm glad to be here. I feel grateful. The Almighty God was watching out for me, and nobody moved because they knew that we were giving out free stuff. No, he didn't say that, but I mean, he was very, very low energy. And then the meds wore off, and he launched into. He did cover this. Covered the assassination attempt, and he specifically said, I'm going to discuss this one time and then never again. Why? Because he knows he's going to lie about it and doesn't want to be caught out there in a lie. Straight up. That's what I'll say about that. I don't know why else you would preemptively decline to talk about possibly like the one most noteworthy thing that has happened to your pathetic ass in life. You survived an assassination attempt. Oh, it's too painful to talk. Come on, get the fuck out of here. It's too painful. Here's another thing I'm going to say about that assassination attempt is that people have been saying that if it were the guy who was shooting at him had an AR-15, and if those were bullets from an AR-15, half of his ear should have been ripped up. Now, he's got a big old bandage on there. Never once have I seen that bandage look like it needed to be changed. You all know we've all been injured. We've had wounds that, you get a scrape on your arm or something, you put a bandage on, and after, a little while, you'll see a bit of red on there. Time to change his bandage. Never seen him change the bandage. He'll be sitting there for a long time, always pristine white. And I've tweeted about this a few times. I'll mention it again that, people were all the way up President Obama's colon for his birth certificate based on the say-so of that carnival barking idiot. Him. He compelled the press to chase after President Obama's birth certificate. Well, let's see it. So use that same fucking energy and go after his medical report for that year. That is news. That's newsworthy. We deserve to see that shit. Oh, and then this. Then he used I didn't like this at all. I mean, I get it. I get, giving the firemen, giving him a shout out, and even letting bringing his uniform out there. I get it. He died, while supporting you at your rally. Yeah. But going over there and making it, kissing his helmet and all that bullshit, that's gross. That's gross, man. Have some dignity, and allow him some dignity. Here's another thing I didn't like. President Biden called that man's, the comparator's widow, and she declined to take the call. I don't care if you are a Democrat or a Republican. If your significant other, if your husband or your wife is killed and the president calls you, you take the call. You take the fucking call. I mean, you call yourself a Christian or whatever the case may be, you're really going to hold a grudge against a man you've never met who is taking time out of his busy presidential day to call you and give his condolences? No, I can't. Why? Well, because maybe my husband might not have liked that. Did you guys talk about that? Did you really? Did you have a conversation with your husband and he said, look, in case I die and the president of the United States is a Democrat and tries to call to give you his condolences, don't take him. Don't take the call. Did you have that discussion with him? Because otherwise you're just doing political posturing. All right. That's really, that kind of upset me. It was upsetting. Anyway, what upset me more was the array of lies that Donald Trump launched into about everything. Suddenly, I finally, last night I was tweeting. I was live tweeting, and I was trying to keep up with Donald Trump's lies, and it was too many. And I'm sitting here in the comfort of my own home, right? Able to type, and there were so many lies. Like, I didn't know whether or not I should pause this and rewind and then write down what the fucking lies were and then refute them. Which ones are more important to? And then suddenly I understood where President Biden was on that debate night. I fucking understood it. Donald Trump was doing that Gish Gallop thing. Gish Gallop is a debate strategy where you throw out a ton of lies, ridiculous, outrageous lies, like over the top lies, and then challenge your opponent to defend some or all of those if you can, because you're limited to your response time. So I'm there, I'm home. I could have, but it was too much. It was too much. Thankfully, after the fact, there were people who were able to refute, or even catch a lot of these lies. And so I do have, excuse me, I do have painfully obvious lies. Somebody just posted. Yeah, Ben Mycelis. Ben posted here. Donald Trump said the following at his RNC speech tonight. One, he asked if people knew his friend, the quote, late great Hannibal Lecter. He praised Hungary's authoritarian leader, Viktor Orban. He said North Korean dictator Kim Jong un missed him. He attacked the UAW union. He called COVID the China virus. He said he was buying votes in Wisconsin. He thought Scott Walker was still the governor of Wisconsin and praised his leadership. The governor is Democrat Tony Evers, who did not attend. He said he was going to take over the auto industry. He called Nancy Pelosi, Crazy Nancy. By the way, when he did that, he also went boom, boom, boom with his hand, like mimicking the hammer attack. He said he wanted to hold the next Republican convention in Venezuela. He spread lies about the 2020 election. He bragged that the Taliban called him Your Excellency and said they probably don't call President Biden that. And in addition to that, I totally forgot to play the Lester Holt debate performance that President Biden had earlier this week. By the way, let me just add, because I did skip over that and I don't have time to go back to it. But President Biden, I thought, had a hell of an interview with Lester Holt. I appreciated, in particular, a part where Lester was asking him, did you rewatch the debate? And he was all into the focusing on that debate. And President Biden leaned forward and he said, "Hey, Lester, why aren't you guys asking him about the 28 lies, the 28 blatant lies that he told in that debate?" Lester was stunned. He didn't know how to respond to that. Well, actually, we did. And President Biden was like, "No, you didn't. No, you didn't. God love you." That was great. Anyway, in addition to those things that Brett Mycelis pointed out, there was a whole lot of other things. He said he tried to blame Democrats. He tried to say that we want to attack or end Social Security and Medicare, which is it's such an egregious lie. It's laughable. There's so many members of the Republican Party who are on record, on video, saying that they want to dismantle Social Security. They want to change it. They want to raise the retirement age. All this shit. They want to do entitlement reform. Entitlement reform is their fancy way of camouflaging Social Security and Medicare. Hang on. There were a ton of other lies, some of which I was able to catch during the debate. It was tough, but yeah. The Biden administration, he was talking about drill, baby, drill, et cetera, et cetera. The Biden administration is producing more oil than Trump ever did. He was talking about manufacturing. I was going to boost manufacturing. The Biden administration has increased manufacturing well above what Trump did, thanks to the CHIP Act. He's talking about not letting other countries take our jobs, but he gets much of his merchandise produced in China. President Biden is bringing manufacturing back to America. His no tax on tips gimmick is bullshit. Everyone doesn't get tips at work. Why not just increase the minimum wage to a living wage? And and the Social Security thing. I couldn't keep up with all the lies. The bottom line is Trump's speech was weak. It was weak. It was rambling. He mentioned Hannibal Lecter. He mentioned the shark. And it was divisive. It went back to, accusing Democrats of weaponizing the justice system. We didn't weaponize shit, dude. You were indicted by grand juries who were comprised of people, not Democrats, just people. A lot of the evidence against you was provided by Republicans. Many instances, people part of your own administration. Stop trying to blame Democrats for your breaking the law. They're just holding you accountable for things that if you didn't break the law, there wouldn't be all of this accountability, but you broke the law. It's that simple. And again, he also said that accused Democrats of cheating in the 2020 election. So there was a lot of hoopla before the RNC about Donald Trump turning the page, using this experience, this assassination experience, to strike a new tone. There's no new tone. There's no new Trump. There never is. There never was, and never will be. If I had $1 for every time they have said Donald Trump is going to turn the page, he's going to strike a new tone. If I had $1 for every time they said that, man, I'd have a boatload full of dollars. The media keeps going for it, and they are intent on propping him up, on giving him advantages that they won't grant to the Democratic Party, to the Democratic candidate. They will latch on to the littlest thing to nitpick Democrats about. And with the egregious bullshit that Donald Trump spews, they just give him free reign. Why? Because ratings, because he's better for their ratings than a boring old guy who knows how to do his job and do it well. So, with that said, I don't know what else to say other than Democrats have to get on the same page. We have to stop attacking our president. It's not doing anybody any good, any favors at all. Yeah, we want to win, but if after all this, Joe Biden is like, fuck you guys, I'm staying in the race. Now you've just spent a month attacking his ability to run, his ability to win, and you've given so much ammunition to the other side. You got to figure out a better way to do this thing. You got to figure out a better way to give him space. And if he's saying, that's it, I'm in, support him. Support him. So that's all I have to say. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. At the end of the day, folks, whether or not it's President Biden or Vice President Kamala Harris, or even if it ends up being somebody else, I've spent my whole adult life having to, when it comes to elections, having to be practical with my decisions over who I'm going to elect. I don't believe that I have the luxury, or people that I know, love, and care about have the luxury of having an angry, vengeful fascist in the White House. Someone who will use his power corruptly to round up millions of people and deport them, breaking up countless families, who will fire thousands, if not millions, of people, civil servants, because they haven't sworn an oath of loyalty to him. I can't support a guy who will support a national abortion ban. I can't support that. So whoever ends up being our nominee, at the end of the day, I might be mad if they step over. I'll be furious. I will literally be furious if they step over Vice President Kamala Harris. But what's my alternative? Am I going to let that jackass back in? Not a chance. So, guys, thank you again for joining me for another episode of Storytime with BDD. A quick reminder, The Defiant podcast drops on Thursday at 5:30 p.m., the day before Storytime. So do not miss next week's episode, Thursday at 5:30, where Kenny Hess and I talk to the Honorable Representative Jasmine Crockett. Make sure you watch that. And until then, I look forward to seeing you guys here, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.